Welcome to the Welcome Suite webinar. We want to have the opportunity to tell you about the highlights of our 0.27 release. And of course, to tell you about what we are most proud of for this release. Something that has been needed in Salesforce development for a long time now. A debugger tool that is actually part of an IDE. As in the past webinars, I'm Daniel. I do PR and communications for the Welkin Suite, and I also am the Director of Business Development and Sales for SoftTheme. And I have Vladimir here with me. He is the head of product for the Welkin Suite and also head of SoftTheme Salesforce department.
Hi guys!
So let's first of all start talking about our path for this webinar. What we are going to give you is an overview of our current release. We will describe in some more detail what exactly our Apex Retrospective Debugger is, and we will show it to you in action. We are also going to be describing in a little bit more detail some of our other changes that we have made, and give you an idea of what we will be doing in regards to our work in the next release. And of course, we will be happy to answer any of your questions at the end of the webinar, but please feel free to type in any questions at any time that you have. At a high level, what we have done. Concerning the retrospective debugger, we made it so you can start it from any unit test or any existing debug log file. Another cool thing we did was we added support for external tools in the main menu. And of course, there is always some housekeeping tasks to do. So we fixed some issues that was causing crashes when opening commit details. We fixed an issue that was throwing a rare exception when opening a project when an opened debug log file in it. And we also took care of an incorrect name of a column in the local history panel. So Vladimir, I know that you're just totally excited about our main subject here, the Apex Retrospective Debugger. So I really have three main questions for you. First of all, why do you use the word retrospective? Also, what does our debugger allow the developer to do, and how does it do it?
You know, Dan, it were very hard 2 months when we were working on the Apex Retrospective Debugger, and I'm really happy that we've just released it. And I will be happy to answer your questions now. So let's start. And first of all, why retrospective? Unlike interactive debugger by Salesforce, our retrospective debugger is not allowing you to debug in runtime while the code is being executed. However, we are using debug logs with finest log level to provide you debug information. We analyze all these logs, we try to understand execution flow, we parse all variable assignments, all statement executions, and we provide you debugging possibilities. And very nice thing here is that we've built this retrospective debugger using very flexible rules-based architecture. So we are very flexible in adding new features, in improving something existing, and maybe of course fixing some bugs that we may already have.
Okay.
And what does Apex Retrospective Debugger gives you? So the main thing, as any debugger as it should be, it gives you an ability to see and to go through the execution flow step by step. It also allows you to set up different breakpoints so you can skip some uninteresting parts of code and go to the exactly what you want, or maybe to the broken part of code without spending any time on uninteresting points of code. And also we are showing you all the local variables, their values, if they were changed, so you can understand what is the current state of execution in each step in each line. And another very interesting side is what we does not do. So retrospective debugger doesn't require you to have any features enabled on your org like interactive debugger. It also doesn't require any additional Salesforce subscriptions, and we do not limit you to use debugger only on non-production environments. So you can start using retrospective debugger even on your production environment to understand what issues your customer have faced. But it's good, let's maybe see how it works in real life. So I will switch to the Welkin Suite. Here we are. So we have the Welkin Suite opened. I have some test method already opened here. And I'll start from the first way of executing retrospective debugger, just from the unit test. So it's very common situation when you're writing some unit test which tests different parts of your logic of your code, and the best way to understand what is wrong where and what are the difficulties in your code to just debug your unit test. So I can right click in the editor and select Debug Unit Test. Once I press this button, the Welkin Sute will store your debug logs levels information. We will set our debug logs information, so we will use finest for system and Apex code, and error for everything else, to just save some space in your debug logs. We will execute unit test you selected, we will download debug log, and we will get back your previous debug log levels. So yep, we are done. Once this is done, we can clearly see and understand that we are in the debug mode. So first of all, let's set in title, and we can see that our layout of panels was changed a bit. So let's see what we have here. So first of all, we can notice this yellow line and this small yellow arrow showing us that this is our current statement, or to be more correct, it's the next statement that will be executed. We also have locals panel, which will display you your local variables, some static variables which are accessible in each correct line of code. We also have breakpoints panel, which shows us all the different breakpoints that we've set in different parts of our solution. It's almost empty right now, but we'll get back to it later. And we have call stack panel here as well, that is showing us actually call stack of our calls. Also, we have different commands in debug menu, and the same commands here on the toolbar. So first command is continuous, so it will go to till the end of your execution context, or it will go to the first breakpoint it will find. The next one is stop debugging. It's pretty obvious what it does, it just stops debugging. The next command is show next statement. So in case if you were looking for something else while debugging, for example switch it to some other file, trying to read to understand what happens here, and you've lost or you don't remember where exactly was your where exactly is your current debug state, you can just press this button and it will get back you to the current statement. And we have three main buttons to just interact with your execution context. So first button is step into. In case if your next statement is calling some other method or constructor or something else, step into will just step into that call and you will start going through that method or constructor. The next one is step over. In the same case, if your next statement calls some other code, for example method or constructor, step over won't step in and will just step over. Again, Captain Obvious. And the last one is step out. So for example, in case if you are somewhere on the third level of the call stack, you step into some different methods and you want to step out, so get back to the second level, you just press step out. So let's maybe start doing something. I'll use step overs here. So we can see that we've just executed first line. We have something new in locals panel. We can see our I variable, its current value is null. So to be honest, it's not now yet, but it was not yet initialized with any value, so it's pretty clear for all of us that it was not initialized. Current call is that we have right now is calling some constructor. I will step into this call. So we can see as this is another class, it has some static variables. So S4 starts with initializing its static variables. So we can see that at the first step we are initializing this new integer field, and that's it. So we can see right now in locals panel that we have dummy class autostatic field with value 2 and type integer, and we can see our object variable with type of dummy class, and I can expand it and I can see all the fields in it and their values. So let's move in. I have some another method here. I'll skip it again. Not interested here. And I'm interested in this call. So I'll step into it. And when I start executing this method, I can see that locals panel is again different. So we don't have anymore here that object or I, because they are not in the current visibility scope. However, we can see here our parameters which we've passed to this method. So these are num and text, and their values are 3 and dummy value respectively. So in this way we can clearly understand which branches of code were executed, which values were passed to each method, and it really helps us to understand what happens. Also, you can notice in call stack panel that we have two items here already. So first one is showing us with small arrows that we are here, and the second one it's a kind of method which have called this one. So by double clicking on it in call stack, I can navigate back to that method to understand what was the source of this call. It's also clearly highlighted in the editor, so I can clearly understand what it is. I can go back using show next statement again, and in case this method is not so small and it's like, I don't know, 100 lines, I don't care about it. I can just step out from it, what I'll do right now. So once I step out, I can see, so yeah, I'm back to my unit test. So again, I will skip some instructions, and one more interesting thing here. So as you can see, our I value right now is null. It was not yet initialized, and in the next statement we are currently on, we will assign some value to this I. Just take a look here at locals and let's see what will change. So after this assignment, we can see that I value is right now 5, and we can see that it's marked with some kind of different color, almost red. It's notifying us that during execution of the last statement, this variable value was changed. And if I'll execute another statement, we can see that it's again white, because during the last execution it was not changed. So it's about locals, and in case if I'm not interested in walking through all these different calls, and I'm interested in some last calls, for example, even not this, but this one, I can just skip all these lines of code by pressing F5, and I will immediately navigate to this breakpoint. I can see all the values that were updated, I can see the actual status, and I can start debugging exactly what I'm interested in. Regarding breakpoints, so some more points here. Right now I have only one of them. I can set different breakpoints in different files. I can even set breakpoints somewhere in another test method, for example, and we'll immediately notice that it's displayed in somehow another way. So it's like almost white, and there is some warning icons showing up, explaining us that this breakpoint will not be hit in this execution context. Also, I can enable or disable any of my breakpoints, so I'll just disable all of them. And we can see here that after I disable some breakpoints, they are marked as white, so it clearly indicates me that I won't hit these breakpoints. So that is in general how debugger works. We'll have some another webinar next week explaining this in more details, but I'll stop this debugging process and I'll show you the second way to start debug process. So the second way is to start debugger right from the debug log. I can call it from the main menu and select start debugging from a log file. After that, I need to select appropriate log file and start debugging. The main cases where you can use this approach is, for example, as I said previously, debugging some production organizations, or for example, you can execute some anonymous Apex code and generate debug log, download it and start debugging. Or you can navigate through some Visualforce pages, for example, and get this log and start debugging it. So general debug process is absolutely the same. The only difference is that how you get us information about what you want to debug. So I'll select exactly the same log I've used a minute ago, press open, and again I'm here. So that's very high level overview of debugger, and let's move on.
Okay, I think let's answer a couple of these questions real fast because we are on the debugger Vova. So we have a question about, can you mouse over the variable and view the variable while in debug?
Right now, no, but we will add this in a couple of next releases, so we are going to do a lot of additions and enhancement to the debugger, and we will talk about it a bit later, but right now, no.
Okay, and then as far as when we start a debugging session, the Welkin suite automatically sets the debugging level of Salesforce to finest.
Yeah, so we are setting system and Apex code debug levels as for finest. We set database for info and everything else for error.
Okay.
And after the debug session ends, we return them back to your previous values.
Okay, and then also to debug an existing log, you have to execute with logging set to the finest in all areas, right?
Not and also again for you needed to have finest on system Apex code, and you needed info on database and everything else, whatever you want.
Okay.
So we will show you an error if this log doesn't match our requirements, and we won't allow you to start with such log.
Okay, so then let's go ahead and move on. That seems to tie up most of the debugging questions. So let's go ahead and move on to the external tool support. I find this one actually really cool because of what took place to cause this. This Monday we had a group of people come visit us here in Kiev for a few reasons. Interest in our Salesforce development team, and also interest in our IDE and what it could do for their internal Salesforce development team. In our sets of conversations, it was brought up that it would be very useful to them if they had this ability to use external tools directly from the Welkin suite, and we agreed with them that this would be cool. So congratulations, Vladimir. In less than a week, we got it.
Yeah, we really like to do some such surprises when we can, so this time we were able to do this surprise, so I'm really happy on this. And I'll describe this in some more detail. So the main thing, yeah, you can now add your external third-party tools which you are using in your development process to the Welkin Suite's main menu. For example, this can be your different tasks, for example, retrieve, deploy, or something else. As another way of using this, you can have some minimizers for JavaScript or CSS code, or even you're a hardcore developer, you have some very cool development flow. You can develop your own custom tools, have some command line applications or bot or PowerShell scripts. You can also add all of them to the Welkin Suite's menu and call them very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not only about adding them to the menu, but it's also another very cool thing that you can pass some different interesting arguments, interesting information as arguments for that external tools.
Okay.
So I'll jump in back to the Welkin Suite.
Yeah, sure. Let's go ahead and highlight how to do this.
So first of all, to find these new things, I need to open Tools menu, and here I can see external tools. So by clicking this, I am entering this external tools setup window. I'll delete my previous one. So we can see that I've already created 3 external tools for me, and right now I will create another tool. I don't know. I will call it somehow. After that I need to select executable which will be executed. So let's try to find something. I have some bat file here, so I will select it. Then I can pass some arguments here. For example, I have some hard-coded ones like deploy. But not only these hard-coded ones, I can add some macro arguments, and if I press this button I can see the list of all these items. So for example, it's an item path, item directory, file name, project file name directory, solution file name and directory, and current line, column and text in the selected item.
Mm-hmm.
So this means if I, for example, pass here current line and item file name, this means that each time when I will call this external tool from the Welkin Suite, it will pass current line of currently opened file and file name of the currently opened file in the editor as an argument to this comment. Also, I can specify here initial directory, working directory for this executable. Currently I don't care about this. And I have a small set of checkboxes below. So for example, use output window. This means that if your command line application is outputting something, if you select this checkbox, it will output to the output panel instead of opening separate window and spamming there. You can also prompt for arguments, so each time when you will try to execute this external tool, we will ask you about external tools, about arguments. Almost done, but yeah, one more thing here. So I will add an ampersand symbol before the Welkin, and I'll explain right now what for. So like in any or in almost any Windows application, when you press Out button, you can see these underlines on the main menu. This means that if you press, for example, T char, you will have tools menu opened. So I press Alt, then press T. And again here I see all this underlined, for example, retrieve, deploy, and you can see it on my new custom tool. I have this W underlined. So this means if I press Alt T and W, it will execute my command. So let's check. Alt T W.
And there it is.
So it prompts for arguments. I'm okay with these arguments. I press OK, and output panels pops up showing me what my command have produced. So this way we really think that this may help you, those of you who are using some external tools, who are using heavy development processes, who employ ANT or some very complex Git scenarios, for example, or use some transformations for their code. So let us know what different use cases are you planning to use in this way, and we will be happy to maybe advise something or to build something in the future.
Okay, sounds great. How about we back up and hit a couple of questions on that debugger again? We got a couple more, and actually I was kind of waiting for this to pop up. Dealing with the limits, Vova, on debugging, how do we work around that max debug file, and how do we handle this log limit?
Yes, that's a great question. So right now we are handling it in the most obvious way. So if something is skipped by Salesforce, we don't show this information. So this means that there are always some kind of limitations for debugger. If Salesforce just cuts your debug log, we can't do nothing right now. In case if Salesforce just cuts your long text variables or even property names, we also can't do nothing, and we will show you the cut variables, cut names. However, we have some very great ideas how we can bypass this, and I really hope that we will release these great things, I guess, in the next month or maybe even less. So we will work on this direction. It's one of our priorities right now, and I can promise you that we will fight with this issue. It will be very nice.
Yeah, so I guess that makes also for then a good transition to what are our future plans?
You're right, Dan. So let's get back to PowerPoint. And our plans for the next release are new debug logs viewer. So once we've done all this work, all these preparations with debug logs, we are now clearly understand them, and we can provide you much better debug logs viewer. So you will have some tree view, you have more highlighting options, maybe some more intelligent options for debug logs. So that's one of our plans. The next one is Salesforce migration tool integration, or ANT. So once we started to think about it with these external tools, we will continue working in this direction, and we'll try to provide you some more integration with ANT out of the box. Also, we were working on Apex Code Assistance enhancements for last 2 or 3 months very tightly. So we are working right now on the improvements to our parser, so it will be 10 times faster, even 100 times faster. It will provide us much more options to give you better completions. So I hope that we will release this result of this work in the next release again. And as I said, Apex Retrospective Debugger improvements, so it's very flexible architecture. There's lots of room for improvements right now, and we are going to work on this for the next couple of months for sure to get it ideal and to satisfy all your needs.
Yeah, and I would like to really jump in there to point out we really have a growing demand for the users of the Welkin suite for your stories, especially concerning this new debugger, so we can really better start understanding what your needs are. To be quite honest with you, it's truly these needs of yours that, and the growing needs of the Salesforce family that push the Welkin suite forward. And I think one of these, the external tool support was a great example of this. The need was there and we fulfilled it, and that's really what pushes us and drives us.
Yeah guys, so please feel free to let us know what you think about the debugger. If you find any issues or any strange behavior, or if something is not quite clear for you why it behaves in this way, or if you see it somehow in another way, ideal improvements. So we are very open for this. We are strive for your comments, for your ideas, and it's inspiring us to work.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess I will kind of sum it up by thanking you from both Vladimir and myself, and definitely the Welcome Suite team for giving us a half hour of your time and asking us some great questions. We definitely look forward to having you on future webinars, and please have a safe evening, day, whatever area in the world that you're from. And we look forward to communicating in the future with all of you.